This episode of The Arctic Edge celebrates and honors the traditional wisdom and knowledge of Inuit elders in Nunavut and the founding of the territory. So in that spirit, we released this installment on July 9th, 2025, Nunavut Day. It's a statutory holiday commemorating the day Canada's Parliament passed the Nunavut Act and the Nunavut Land Claims Act in 1993. Sitting with Inuit elders is an experience that settles in your bones, and it stays there. We had that privilege. It's not really an interview per se. It's not even a conversation in the way most of us understand it. It's something quieter, something deeper. It feels less like talking and more like absorbing. Like the air in the room itself is carrying knowledge that has been protected and preserved for generations. Now, to share that space, to hear their voices, their laughter, the way they pause and choose each word with care, it's humbling in a way that catches you off guard. These are people who have lived through unthinkable change, colonialism, relocation, the trauma of residential schools. They sit with grace, with humor, with an unshakable commitment to pass on what was once passed to them. Stories, values, teachings that have endured despite everything that tried to erase them. When you're in that room, surrounded by that much experience, that much truth, something shifts. You start to listen differently, more slowly, more deeply, to understand that leadership in Inuit culture is not always loud. It's quiet, it's patient, and it's rooted in service to the land, to the community, and to generations yet to come. For me, it was an honor, one I don't take lightly. And we want you to feel some of that too. I'm Hannah Thibodeau, and this is The Arctic Edge, stories from Canada's frontier. In this episode, we welcome you into the room, into the circle. This is our conversation with Inuit elders. Lavinia Brown is from Rankin Inlet.
I will speak in English. I was sent away to go to school so I could learn English. As a result, I think, in Caucasian way in my mind because of the schooling that I had to attend because we couldn't speak our language. It was taken away. So I'm a little more comfortable in English, although I speak fluently Inuktitut. My name is Lavinia Nukadlak Brown. I am from Rankin Inlet. I grew up in a small community called Chesterfield Inlet. And then I went away to go to school when I was 13 years old. And my background is in nursing and education.
David Keltuksuk lives in Whale Cove.
You all know my name now. David Kataksak from Whale Cove. And I've been working with that Negro for close to 8 years, but not on the same level or department for that land.
David Uvinayak is from Baker Lake, which we've learned is the geographic center of Canada.
David Uvinayak, Kamanit Duamit.
Pujut Kusagak provides translation.
So he was explaining where he's from and being taught at a young age of how to survive because of the harsh conditions we had, having to know things like clothing, how to hunt making sure that you paid attention and really listen well. And making sure that being able to work with others was important to know, and that you had to be able to pass on that knowledge as well.
And Rosie Uliuk, also from Rankin Inlet.
Thank you. My name is Rosie Uliuk.
So Rosie's from the Rankin area. That's where she grew up. And she didn't really know any other areas because she didn't travel around as much. But when Rankin got its nickel mine, there was a school there, and that's where she got some Western education. And most everything she's learned from her elders and family members. And that everyone, what she has learned in her life is everyone has something to contribute. Even when people feel like they may not have anything to help with or contribute into society, everyone has some skill. And her skill was midwifery and child rearing.
So we started with what felt like a simple question.
How does someone become an elder? I think every person becomes an elder. Every person. But it depends what kind of an elder. There are different kinds of elders. We call the elders the people who are the oldest in the group or family. The people that are the oldest who have been leading and the leaders of the group. How one becomes an elder, I think it depends on the individual.
David Uvingayak. He was taught to listen to the eldest person, but he didn't always listen what he was told. Sometimes it would be said and it would just keep going right out the other ear. So he was adopted, and he didn't always get taught as much as others. He thought he was overly loved and spoiled that time, so instead of being disciplined with him and teaching him and making sure he did things, he was made to live an easier life in a way. So he wishes that he had a bit more tough love and discipline to make sure that he was taught properly how to take care of people and any other lessons that might be. Because he's seen the difference where you see people that are loved and they are disciplined and listen well, and ones that weren't as well and they have a tougher life later on. So that's what he wishes he had instead. So with Rosie, she learned from her great-grandparents. With old age, it makes you less mobile. Your life becomes harder. It's harder to walk. But what we have to do is we have to care and look after them because of what they've taught us and all the knowledge they still carry. And you have to be very attentive for their needs, for things like even needing a drink of water. There used to be no running water. They totally depended on melted ice when there was no rivers close by or anything, and making sure that You just look after their basic needs, but also even more to make sure that they knew they were still a part of the family. And you had to make sure that you respected and you were in awe of what their knowledge was and what they were still able to provide. So her great-grandmother's name was Mani Uluyuk, and there's a school, the high school in Rankin is named after her great-grandmother.
Lavinia fondly remembers Rosie's family and their connected history.
I adore her when she speaks. She speaks about the same ancestry that I had from Kairner, Corbett Inlet, and what these two said, I agree with them. They spoke very nicely. How do you become an elder? That's a very tough question. The term elder in Western language seems to be a little bit confusing because when they see elderly people, those are seniors and they're called elders. So sometimes I'm wondering, is that term right? But it seems elder is equivalent to someone who have a PhD. That's what I would think. And to become an elder, I think you have to know your community and what have you done for your community, and the growth of yourself, like personal development growth, is very important to become an elder. And an elder, I think, must have a balance of their good life and to move forward, and have consideration and courage to tell how it is, consideration to have kindness. So those two have to have balance. In our culture, it seems like they define it very well because they even have a word for that. They have a word, silatuyun, meaning they're intelligent, they're clever. That's the way I could describe it, but I agree with my colleagues.
In Inuit culture, you don't declare yourself an elder. You don't age into it. It's not a title you chase. It's one that's given to you based on how you live, how you carry yourself, how you serve. Lavinia said it best. She didn't become an elder because she wanted to be one. She became an elder because others called her that. It was bestowed. She was recognized not just by her community in the north, but by universities, hospitals, and institutions across Manitoba. She never applied. They found her, because wisdom like hers doesn't need a resume.
I didn't become an elder because I wanted to be. A few times I was questioned, you're not an elder, how did you become an elder? I didn't do it myself. So I had a good answer for that part, and it's not easy to be an elder because a lot of times a lot of it is put on us, and by working together it becomes easy because look what they said. We have almost the same knowledge. We almost have same thinking. That's what I meant about knowledge, same thinking.
Rosie Uluyuk. So her point too was along the lines of you don't just wake up an elder, but she was told by her great-grandmother about if you want to have a long life, there are rules that you have to follow, and there are rules of things like how to look at an elder, how to talk to an elder, how to respect them, how to acknowledge them. There's protocols in place, and you need to make sure you listen to them properly to have a long life, and respect is a huge part of it, to making sure you acknowledge them and do what you can to accommodate them. Yeah, there's protocols, there's family rules, there's things that we have to do. We're taught as Inuit to be attentive to elders.
In some cultures, elders are sidelined, tucked away, left behind. But here, Inuit elders are the cultural heart, the compass. They are the living bridge between the rich history of their ancestors and the promise of the 21st century. Their obligation is to honor the past with an eye on what comes next, even in a high-tech future.
David Uvingayak.
Taamna apekkohiummat unalitatwaik pigittaqapku makkugil tigilikkavut makuningataknaalajjeralu tuanik.
He feels for young people these days that are quite dependent on technology. So if you look at GPS use, which is a great tool, but he feels for them because you still need to have those traditional navigational skills, because having those navigational skills will tell you what to look out for by looking out at ice conditions, lake conditions, whatever it might be. A GPS is not going to tell you there's a thin spot in the ice. It can't do that. So you need to be able to have those skills. Technology fails, the GPS can freeze, the battery can run out, a snowmobile can break down and not be able to run. So you still need to have those traditional skills about traveling and be able to navigate through anything, even through a blizzard. He had dog teams and knows of people that went out traveling and they could feel and hear the different snow conditions to tell if they were on land or on ice. And that was through recognition and being taught how to do that. So they were able to travel from anywhere and still be able to get home. And that's something that still has to be taught to young people about making sure you know where you're going at all times, because anything can happen and your technology can fail. It can take you so far, but there's a total limit to it as well, which is a major safety concern.
Elders certainly carry a heavy load, and one of the heaviest is keeping the language alive. Because when the language fades, it's not just words that are lost. It's culture, it's memory. It's a way of seeing the world that can't be translated.
First of all, we have lost our language because of a number of things. Number one, we don't always speak Inuktitut at home. Why? To make sure that our young child understands what we are trying to tell them. We speak to them in English. That's one reason. The other reason is that first day they go to school, they are right from there they're taught English, because no Inuktitut teachers are available, but not that many. They start off their education in English. The other thing is that how do we keep our tradition alive? It's one of those that it's very hard to bring back because not living that traditional life anymore. The best we can do is keep a record of how we used to keep our tradition.
Very important to keep the culture alive, the traditional. Our language was very important to us because it's attached to our culture. After I went to school, got severe punishment not to speak ever Inuktitut again. We were punished so badly that for me, it seems like I didn't value my Inuktitut language anymore. I didn't value my culture anymore because look, your parents discipline you for you're wrong. You learn by being disciplined. We were more than disciplined, we were punished. So we learned to give up our own Inuktitut, our own culture. But I never forgot mine. because I had a strong family. My father and mother always, every spring or winter, by dog team, we went to Kayanak, where my grandpa and grandma lived. And my grandpa, he married another lady, Alvictalik from Baker Lake. So we learned all that tradition and culture from out on the land. I know what it's like to be on the dog team. I know what it's like to be inside a tent or igloo, snow house. I lived those, and I think there's still some of us left that know that knowledge, and we have to keep teaching that, although we'll never go back, like somebody said, we'll never go back to that tradition ever again. But we have to maintain how important it is to keep our culture, our language, keep teaching it anyhow through program. So your questions are very, very well written because it reminds us what's important.
Rosie Uluyuk. What she was taught and what really sticks with her on the traditional part is when you have a son, you tell the son, your son, you cannot have a girlfriend or a wife until you're able to build an igloo and be able to give her shelter, because that is absolute need for you to take care of somebody. On the other part, if you have a daughter, you have to tell your daughter that she cannot have a boyfriend or a husband until she learns how to sew clothing, because without the clothing, you're not able to look after him, and he's not able to go out hunting and do whatever and look after you too. So it's very much a holistic mindset of until you can look after somebody else, that's when you can have a partner.
Each of these elders had a front row seat to history. April 1st, 1999, the day Nunavut officially became a territory. They remember the celebration, the pride, the promise, but they also remember the road it took to get there. Years of patience, pressure, and relentless planning. As Rosie recalls, Nunavut wasn't handed over. It was hard-won.
Her brother was part of the negotiating team for the creation of Nunavut. And she is very protective of where she comes from, her home, the land she's part of. That's what her life was and still is. She needed her brother to explain clearly, okay, what is Nunavut about? Why is this even happening? And so she made him explain what it was about. She was taught about what the divide would mean and what the work was being done for in the future for her children, grandchildren, and so forth. And she has also realized that we are never going to be able to go back to the old ways. It's done. But now we have to see how we can plan and teach for our children and grandchildren moving forward for the betterment of their future.
Nunavut didn't become a territory overnight, I remember. Because before that, there was time for explaining the wish that we have for Nunavut territory. And when we were talking about what we want to see when Nunavut becomes a territory, we had a long list of wish lists. And a lot of those wish lists never came about because in a lot of them there was no real foundation to stand up solid information. there was a lot of excitement just before 1999. Now, that many years ago, what did we get? We got a lot less than what we wished for. I think it's mainly because there are so many guidelines that we had to follow, especially in a governing body situation. Traditional living is one of the things that we wanted to see continued. But as we know, everything changed over a number of years, and our way of living changes too. The way we wanted to keep our territory, our land boundaries, waters, river systems, and traditional camping grounds where families used to have their own territory to hunt, trap, or fish. Those are the kind of things that we wish to see but never really become anything. I don't know what to call it, but those are things that we wanted but somehow couldn't get back anymore.
When the vote came for Nunavut new territory in 1999, I was probably the only one that voted against me. Yes, me. I'm not afraid to speak up. At the time I was concerned, we didn't have enough complement of professional people. I think we need all kinds of complements to get all those professional people in order to get our 85% hire of Inuit in government. Why haven't we reached yet? It's been over 25 years, I believe, maybe 30 years. And we have never reached 85% of Inuit hire. Why? Has anybody wondered about that? Or is it not important? So I never felt guilty about not voting with the rest. I felt quite satisfied voting no, because I'm thinking of our future. Our young people have to be so strong. They are strong. Look, we have lots of young people that are leaders. That makes me very proud. We had very, very strong leaders in the 70s. Strong, stubborn. How did they convince federal government to negotiate such a land claims agreement? How? We have the biggest country, Nunavut. It's very big, and these young leaders were very brilliant. They were smart, and I know their names. Some of them are alive still, but some of them unfortunately have passed on. But I'm still very proud of them that they did that, created a Nunavut. We got Nunavut.
So here we are, more than a quarter of a century since Nunavut was born. The question now is, what comes next? What do they want to see in the next 25, 30 years? Rosie's thoughts turn to creating opportunities for the next generation of Nunavumiat.
Isima ila manamu ila ni kusuli inutu meakanga.
Her thoughts always go to what will our young people's lives be like in the future. She very much supports them, wants to see them succeed, and she feels she has lived her life. Her life is not done, but it's up to a point where like there's nothing else for her to really do, I guess. Even though she still, of course, contributes, but now her thoughts are with the young people, that young people's lives are just starting. So how do you support them? How do elders help young people become capable, become skilled, and be able to accomplish dreams that they have and what their future holds? How do you make sure you're part of that so they're able to succeed? That's what she thinks. That's what she wants to help, and that's how she sees what contributions are still able to be made by them. David Uvingayak,
Taman na ili magkukunot.
he sees that there's many young people that have graduated, and even though they have graduated, many are not working, and that's worrisome. There needs to be a way of being able to support these people that have an education but are not working. Like, why is that? We want to be able to support them properly and encourage them to work because those opportunities are there. Look at the mining industry. There's all these job openings, but we don't have people that have the post-secondary education or so to take on those roles. We're never going to go back to living the old way of life. It's done. But there has to be a way of properly supporting them so that they're educated and can support themselves and support family members. So he would really like to find a way of further supporting them in their futures.
Early days in 1960s in Well Cove, when we first moved to Well Cove in August 1959, there was already 2 prospectors 5 miles from where we landed. And there were prospectors further inland, here and there. And from that time on, we began to understand there's a lot of potential on the ground. Economically, looking at how we want to survive as prosperous Nunavut, I think we need to keep encouraging our leaders to go back and look at what this area has in potential. Looking at prospecting, mining, and that. Now that we have gone through mining process, procedures, and doing, we have a better idea now how we could better plan for the future.
I would like to see prosperity too. To be honest, I'm quite worried about our future. Our government, as it stands, they can't alone keep up with the services, with their infrastructure and with finances that they are getting. Our population is growing too rapidly, so therefore our government is suffering from keeping up with services. I'm worried because our government can't do it alone. We're fortunate we have a gold mine up in Baker Lake and in Rankin Inlet, which is contributing a lot of assistance that I see. I grew with Rankin Inlet Melodine Mine when it was happening. I watched it grow. I watched the major operation, how big it is, and how professional and how well it's run, and how well the training's going on. And that's the thing that we need to see for Nunavut Mute. We need that. and the operation I'm impressed with, because they have plans how to clean up, how to run it. That's why I support it. Everybody knows we need job. Our elders are saying that it's because of our future, the younger generation. We need to look after them. They looked after us. The elders looked after us all those years up to this day, and now it seems the younger people are carrying us.
David Uvingayak. We just wanted to add on a little bit to Lavinia's comments. Very thankful for the mining companies in Agnico for providing employment and opportunities to our community members, and also being able to assist them in whatever needs there are, if it's food drives or any kind of community services that Agnico has provided. Agnico has shown very responsible environmental work. It's important for people to see that, because there are many people that criticize mining activity but don't realize how clean it is, and they don't see for themselves because they've seen it. He's seen it. So people need to be able to see for themselves and make opinions on by what they see. But he's thankful for being here today to be able to speak.
When Agnico Eagle Chair Sean Boyd first traveled to Baker Lake back in 2007, he told us the elders welcomed him and his team with open hearts. They were grateful for the chance to speak with Sean's team. And Sean says he was deeply honored to simply listen. That stayed with him, and it stayed with us too. The first word we learned to say in Inuktitut was thank you, matna. And after sitting with these elders, hearing their stories, feeling their strength, carrying their hopes, even just for a little while, it feels like the only place to end. Matna. I'm Hannah Thibodeau, and this is The Arctic Edge. Stories from Canada's frontier.